Hello guys, welcome to AppSheet and more. Here we learn very useful tips and tricks about UI and AppSheet that helps us to improve our AppSheet every day. Okay, now in today's video, we're going to talk about structuring your sales or daily activity table. Okay, so if you have an activity table like sales, you find yourself in a situation where you have maybe over a period of time accumulated data like this. So you've grouped it into years. When you zoom into the years, you have the month. When you zoom in, you have the daily transactions. It's fine, but for me, sometimes I do not like to structure my table like this, especially my daily activity like sales table like this. Rather, I prefer to structure it like this. Okay, I prefer to create a dashboard, and then in that dashboard, I have several components or views that show me several items. So the first view is always today's transactions, right? So whenever I record a transaction, that day is going to show up over here. Now, at the end of the day, this data moves on to the second section, which is the month to date, which is MTD, or the month we are currently operating in. Okay, so in this case, in December 2025, this is the transactions over here, right? And then it rolls up into the year to date. So this is all the transactions for 2025, right? And then I have all the historicals this way. So when I'm looking for something, maybe yesterday, I just come to December and then I'm able to locate it. You get it? When I want, let's say April, I just come here and then I can quickly zoom into April and then I can select what I'm looking for. It makes it easy for you to actually find things and actually be able to zoom into particular months quickly. And then you can also have quick insight into the day's transaction, right? Because, for instance, when you record a transaction today over here, so if I record sales, I say, oh, there is this payment coming here. Let's say there's a purchase of this 20 pieces, right? And I click save here. Okay, let's say person paid the exact amount, which is 680, right? And I click save. Here, you don't see it. The transaction you just recorded, you can't see it, right? You need to go into 2025, go into December, and then you look for that particular transaction, which is this. But if you come to transactions here, once you record it, you see it over here. So that's a beautiful thing of visualizing your daily activities table this way. So let's go into AppSheet and let me show you how this can be done. All right, guys, so we are here in AppSheet and we're going to look at how we can create this view. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to add two important virtual columns to our daily activity table. In this case, our transaction table. So whichever table that's going to capture your daily activity, whether sales, contribution, purchases, go into that table and add these two vital columns. So the first one you want to add is month, right? And then this is going to be text function, right? We're going to say the date of that particular table. We want to put the format as which is the month number. I'm going to bring a full stop, and then is the month name, and then YY. The month number is going to help us make sure that we are sorting the month, right, correctly. Other than that, it's going to sort it alphabetically based on the month name, which is not correct. So you're going to have instances where August comes before February because A pops out before F. So the month number will cure that problem. Click done, and then we're going to add year. So the next one is year. Okay, so we're going to use a year function, and I'm going to say also what? Date. Fantastic stuff. So now we are done with the two virtual columns we need. Now what we need to do is make slices of this data. So we'll come to the transaction table, and then we're going to make a slice. So you click on the plus, and then we click on create slice. First slice we're going to create is today's sales. Okay, today's sales. So there are two conditions here. The date has to be equal to today, and then transaction type has to be equal to sales, right? We're going to use and. We're going to say date is equal to what? Today. That's today function. And then we're going to say transaction type is equal to what? Sales. Fantastic. I'm going to copy this guy. we need him. Okay. And then now that we have today's sales, okay, let's just make sure we have only the things we need. Okay. So we don't need these guys. We need to take them out. Yes, we need total bill taken out recorded by. Okay. The reason why we need to take these out is because when you create the form, you can't edit a form created from a slide as easily as you can when you create it directly from the table. So normally I like to make sure I have only the fields I need over here. Maybe even month and year, I don't want it to show, so I can even take it out, but then I'm going to leave it here. Now let me just duplicate this guy, and then we're going to say this month's sales. Okay. Now for this month, transaction type is still going to be equal to sales, but we need to modify the first condition. Now we're going to say that text of no, so let me do this again. We're going to say that month is equal to text today, right? I'm going to say mm should be in the same format as we have for the month. And then yy. I'm going to close this guy here. So comparing month, it should be the same format as today. Today should have the same month, year, format. All right. And I'm going to click and create a duplicate of this guy. And I'm going to say this year's sales. All right. This time around, yeah, you guessed it. We're changing this to what? To year. And we're comparing it to the year of today. So I'm going to say year today. We need to take these guys off. So we have something like this. Right? Then we're going to save this. And then all sales, duplicate. You can say all sales or just sales, whichever makes you happy. So in this case, we take off the dates filter and then we leave it at just what? Transaction to sales. Fantastic. So we have all the slides or all the data chopped into the sizes we want. Now we'll come and we'll create our views. So we'll create this under ref. The first view is going to be today. I'm just going to call this today. I'm just going to select what? My today's sales. Right? Good. So this is today's sales. And I want to make this a table. So I already have data in there for today. Right? Let me click save. Okay, it's always good to save your work as you work. And then we are just going to hold on. Show this in preview. I think my data just appeared. Show this in preview. Let me save this once more. Not sure what's happening. Okay, let's try another view this month. Let's come back to today. Okay, so that fixed that. All right, so now let's just make sure that we have the order we need. So date, we don't need transaction type because we know everything is sales. So I'm going to take that out. Mode of payment is here. Okay, I'm going to take these guys out. I don't need this one. So bill, amount. Okay, so let me put this above this. And then year and month, I'm just going to hide these guys. I don't need them. So I have this. This is what I need. Okay. The reason why I need to do this is because I'm going to duplicate this view and I don't want to have to re-edit it for each of them. So I'm going to click this and duplicate. Okay, I'm going to call this MTD, this month to day sales. Right? Good. Okay, so for that one, we're just going to use the data for this month. Okay, good. Now, how do we want to group this? Okay, so we want to group this by dates. So all transactions for a particular day should be grouped. And then we want to add row number. When you add row number, you see that you can click on each day and then you can zoom in for that day. If you don't add row number, you don't have that effect. Okay, good. So I'm going to aggregate this by some amount paid. Something like this. I can zoom in. Fantastic. Okay, now let me just duplicate this guy. Okay, and this time around it's going to become year to date. Okay, so year to date. The only thing I'm going to add this time around is month, and I'm going to take him to the top. So you're going to have month. When you click in, you have the day. When you click in, you have this, right? Good. We're going to zoom this. I'm going to change this to this year sales. Fantastic. Okay, and then let's order descending order so that always the relevant one is at the top. The most current one is at the top. Descending. Okay, good. Now, the next thing we're going to do is duplicate this one more time. Okay, and then we're going to call this all sales. I'm going to take it from the all sales table. Okay, and then all we need to do is add our year factor, drag this to the top, and make this also descending. Is that okay? Now, here you can see what is comma separated because it's being shown as a number. You can click on the edit icon and then take off the comma separation. Then you have this. So when you click on the year, I have the various months. You see December, November, October, September, August, and February. If you don't bring the numbers, February comes after August, which can be what? Be frustrating. All right, so we have this in place. Okay, now we've created all our views. We have all sales year to date, month to date sales, and today. Okay, now all we need to do is come to our primary view and then create a dashboard. So we'll call this sales. We'll create a dashboard view and just line up everything. So we start with the first one, which is today, and then we have our month to date sales, we have our year to date sales, and we have all sales, right? So it's lined up like this. Now the trick is to activate use tab in mobile view. And then you have something like this. So you have today, month to date sales, year to date sales, and we have all sales. Now let's just change month to date sales and year to date sales. Well, someone who is not familiar with these terms might struggle to understand it. Okay, so we want to make this the month in question, or the month we are currently in, and the year we are currently in. So MTD sales, I'm going to come here and change the display name. Click on this icon, right? And I'm going to call this text. Today, I'm going to say MMMYY. So the display name is going to be the month and the year. Okay, so it's no longer going to be month today, it's going to be December 2025. And when you go to 2026, we're going to come Jan 2026, right? We'll come to year to date, we'll do the same thing over here. This time around, we're going to use the year function. We can also use the text function, but the year function is shorter, saves you time. So today, click save, come here, you have what? Year of what? 2025. You get to then you have what? All sales over here. Now, the last thing is you'll notice that when you create a dashboard, you don't have your action icon. See, in transaction, you have your action icon, but here, there's no action icon. Don't panic. Just come to settings, come to view type options, and then you want to activate this guy. Then now you have your action buttons for each view. Okay, I personally do not want the action button to show for each view. I want the edits to be done in today. Do you get it? Good. So I'm going to take off the action button on these slices. So come back to data, come back to, so month to date sales, I'll say don't add. It's gone off. Year to date sales, I'll say don't add. And then I'll say all sales as well, don't add. So the only one that has, that's today's sales, should be the only one that has the add feature. So when you come here, you see today you can add, but the subsequent ones you can't add. All right, guys, so this is how I like to structure my daily activity table, especially sales that has a lot of transaction coming in every day. Now, if you agree with me and you find this useful, please leave a like. If you have another way of doing it, please leave a comment. Let's do this together. Let's grow this channel. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Take care. Bye, guys.